If the name Artista Cigars rings a gong, but you aren't entirely sure where this ethereal note hails from, then perhaps it's time for someone to fill you in on the details. A few years back, Artista Cigars decided to rebrand itself. This was done purely because the proverbial torch had been passed. Now that it has been passed down from grandfather to dad and dad to son, they are able to take the millennial approach to marketing and blending cigars, which according to Artista's website has left them a little bit nervous. And by nervous, I mean the older generation of Dominican premium long filler cigar makers. Starting off with the rebranding side of things, you can see that they took a very traditional approach and added a little bit of an artistic flair. Go figure, Artista Cigars. This translates very well to the packaging and product descriptions that you find on their website, which, by the way, is really slick looking and top-notch in pretty much every way. What's also slick are the cigar blends themselves, starting with a Core 3 lineup that we have now started stocking at Claro, and you are gonna want to check out. The lightest of all the cigars in the Artista Core line is what I have in my hand, and that is the Artista Harvest Sumatra. The Sumatra is a fantastic cigar for those who are in the mood for something medium but don't want to go all the way full. It's also an excellent cigar for anyone who likes something a little bit nutty and creamy and earthy, as well as Sumatran spice forward. And by spice, I mean baking spices and exotic fruit-like spice notes, things like that, not so much spicy or peppery spice. This Sumatran wrapper is a very fine-looking specimen, and I like that it goes really well with its binder, which is not what one might expect because it comes from Cameroon. Cameroon wrappers are known for providing a lot of nutty and mellow, milky, a little bit earthy, sometimes chalky notes to a cigar, which balances out the Sumatran spice herb notes and provides a bit of a buffer between that wrapper and the all-Dominican filler blend inside, which comes from Artista's own family-owned farms. Those looking for something a little bit darker and more robust will likely enjoy Artista's Falu, which is named after the traditional red barns found in America and a lot of areas in Europe. Just like those red barns standing on a hill, this cigar really does stand out, but with a fair deal of subtler nuances thrown in for good measure. These subtleties are brought to you by an Indonesian-grown Sumatran binder, which is a little bit rougher around the edges than the Ecuadorian counterpart, but in the best possible way. This provides a little bit more of an earthier, volcanic soil, leather-like note that has a bit more chai tea taste to it. Expect more cinnamon, cardamom pods, all of those goodies that go into chai tea, as well as a bit more black pepper mixed with that reddish-looking Connecticut broadleaf wrapper. You get yourself a flavor profile that's kind of like a fruit leather in certain ways, light, real animal hide leather in others, and a nice darker, earthier, hickory-like finish that makes you want to smoke one while you're barbecuing. And then the proverbial cherry on the top of this trifecta is the Midnight Maduro from Artista, which is the cigar that probably gave the older generation the greatest cause for concern. This is a very experimental cigar blend that ended up working out well. I don't even want to know how many times they had to reblend it and sample until they got something that they wanted and could market and sell. The wrapper looks straightforward enough, just an Ecuadorian Habano sun-grown Maduro that borders on being oscuro in color, but it's the binder that's underneath that is a little out of place, and that is a Connecticut shade, which you typically see on the outside of a cigar, not anywhere on the inside, and especially not with tobaccos that are bordering on being Maduro Oscuro in color. This is joined by a trifecta of filler ingredients from Nicaragua, the USA, and Artista's own family-owned farms in the Dominican Republic. All melded together and aged for quite a long time, these cigar tobaccos create a flavor profile that is yin and yang all at once. It's light and buttery and toast-like in certain regards, and very dark and very intense in others. When I smoked it, it made me think of eating dark chocolate-covered craisins, but with a nice tall glass of grass-fed free-range milk. You've got the intensity and the bitterness and the chocolate and the tartness and the robustness, and then you've got your creamy, slightly sweet, milky balance on the other. They just work together really well. On top of that, I detected all sorts of notes of citrus and coffee, mixed spices, of course, a fair deal of leather and black pepper, as well as something that was a little bit on the nuttier end, and they market it as chestnuts, but I find it to be a little more like of a hazelnut creamer-like flavor. All told, a very full cigar with lots of flavor, and one that is not going to pop up on a lot of people's radar as something that's got a binder from Connecticut that's shade grown. All told, a very interesting experimental cigar that is very tasty, but is very full at the same time, so you have to be in the mood for something a little on the robust end. A few closing notes on Artista Cigars and its core line include the fact that we have all three in stock, all three are box pressed, and all three are a 5x54 Robusto. This makes them an ideal option for those who want a smoke that isn't too large, because summer heat is nearly upon us and you don't want to be out there in that shit for too long. You know what I mean?